Hi, I'm Mel,
And I'm Janelle.
and this is the Murder Mamas.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You just want to jump into it?
Sure.
You want to talk?
Yeah.
Okay. So, tonight I'm going to tell you about the very sad murder of a Miss Stephanie Crowe.
Okay.
She was a 12-year-old at the
Oh.
time of her death. We're actually going to my hometown of Escondido, California for this case.
Okay.
And it happened in the night of January 20th, 1998.
Okay.
So, at around 6:30 a.m. on January 21st, 1998, Stephanie Crowe was found covered in blood, and she had been stabbed 8 times in the doorway of her bedroom. She was found by her grandmother, Judith Kennedy, who lived with them, and she was found because her alarm clock kept going off for her to go to school.
Okay.
And she wasn't getting up or turning it off.
Right.
When her grandma went to check on the alarm clock, she found Stephanie. She pushed the door and
Oh my God.
found her body. And initially she thought that Stephanie was covered in dirt or mud.
Right.
And she called her parents, and they quickly noticed that it was blood. I think that was at about 6:30, and the first police call happened at 6:35.
Okay.
So they called right away.
Right.
Everyone's in her room. It's just pandemonium and chaos, basically. During the initial crime scene investigation, the police didn't find any signs of forced entry in the house. The window in Stephanie's bedroom was unlocked, but the screen was in place and not disturbed.
Okay. Was she on the first floor?
I believe it was a one-story home.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
Now I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I feel
I'm sorry.
unprepared. No. It just completely threw me off.
Sorry.
I should have researched better.
No.
No, I'm just
It
kidding.
might not even be in there.
No matter how much research you do.
No matter how much research you do.
You're really giving me a lot of grace here, and I appreciate your grace. So again, her bedroom window was unlocked, but the screen was in place and undisturbed. So there was still the dirt around it, it hadn't been moved or broken or anything. A side door of the house near the garage was left unlocked, but also closed when the police arrived.
Okay.
And the sliding glass door of her parents, Steve and Cheryl's bedroom, was slightly open.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a slight, the big ones that are in apartments.
Right.
With the big long blinds, the plastic ones.
Yeah. Those are the ones that my dogs used to rip down. Have you ever had that?
And they're so loud.
They are
so
very loud.
Which is something to keep in mind as we continue. That they're loud getting through them, right?
Yes.
Even closing them is like...
Yep.
And for that reason, the police did not believe that it would have been an entry point because her parents were asleep right next to it, and it is so loud, and they were completely closed. So anyone coming in would have had to open that door and walk right through them, which...
They're noisy. Yeah.
Exactly. So it seemed unlikely that Steve and Cheryl would have been able to sleep through that noise.
Right.
Although they did say that they heard various noises throughout the night, but normal... moving around, nothing out of the ordinary, no screams, no loud thuds, nothing else.
Okay.
And that everyone went to bed around 9:30 p.m. So, because there's no evidence of a forced entry, the police began to look at the entire Crowe family as suspects, and they brought them into the station for questioning. This sort of also included them taking nude photographs of them.
Oh, wow.
To check for any sort of defensive wounds or scratch marks or anything. And that's including the kids. So Stephanie had 2 siblings that lived in the home with her.
Okay.
Her 14-year-old brother Michael and her 10-year-old sister.
Okay.
And so even they...
That's gotta be so hard.
For the parents.
Yeah.
And them themselves, too.
Well, yeah, and them, too. But...
After that process, Steve, Cheryl, and Judith were sent to, a motel because the home was being processed as a crime scene.
Right.
The other kids, Shannon and Michael, were not allowed to be with their parents because their parents were seen as like a danger to them, to the kids, until they could be fully cleared.
That makes sense.
And because of that, Michael and Shannon were taken to a local group home. It's called the Polinsky Children's Center in San Diego. There, the police began to really hone in on Michael as like their main suspect.
Okay.
Kind of just set the scene around that. I just want to talk about 2 years before this was the John Benet Ramsey case. So in that case, the police didn't question the family separately. They didn't take them to the station. Like, they didn't do any of that.
They didn't do anything.
Yes. And I think that there was a lot of backlash by the police. So, like, I don't know if that was in the investigators' minds, but they did the most.
Right.
On the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay.
How rude. Lucy and Ladybird. So again, the police begin to zero in on Michael here. The reason for that is really that he seemed distant, according to the investigators.
His sister just died.
I think you never know how someone's going to respond to a tragedy like that.
Never.
You can never predict it, and you can't put any sort of expectations on people to, especially a kid, right? Like, he's 14, he's not fully developed, his brain's not done developing. But you just can't put those kinds of expectations on people because you don't know what someone's going to react like.
Right.
No one knows how they're going to react to any situation until they're in the situation.
No, they don't.
But when the police were at the house when they first arrived, he was distant because he was playing like a video game.
Okay.
Again, he's a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He enjoyed video games. That was like part of what he did.
Yeah.
That's what he liked to do. And it says, like, in all of the research I did, it said that one of his favorite pastimes was video games, and he used it to escape from the world. Like a lot so of many people do. Yeah. Kids, adults, whatever.
Yeah.
He also stated to police during the initial questioning that he woke up around 4:30 in the morning with a headache. So he went to the kitchen for some Tylenol and like some milk.
Okay.
But Stephanie would have been dead at that time.
Okay.
So the police thought it was strange that he was awake and had to walk past her room.
Yeah, but at 4 a.m, aren't you sleepy
and he's not feeling good. He had a fever the day before.
Yeah.
But that was another reason that they're like really honing in on him because.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but like that was their reasoning.
Right.
Was that he should have known, he should have seen something, but he says he doesn't. He said he was half asleep. All the lights were off. He didn't turn any lights on, according to him. And that's kind of where the main sort of suspect, like the suspicion comes from.
Right.
The lead investigators questioning Michael were Escondido detective Ralph Clater and Oceanside detective Chris McDonough. McDonough? Yeah. Detective Clater began questioning Michael for the third time on January 22nd, 1998. So this is the day after his sisters passed away.
Okay.
He's already been questioned the first day. They bring him in one other time without his parents. So the first time is when they, like with his parents, without his parents, and this is now the third time.
And are his parents here this time?
Nope. They don't even know. Because he's separated from them, they have no idea.
Okay, that's not okay.
His parents have no clue that he's being questioned, that he's a suspect. They know none of this. The police haven't told them any of this.
Wow. Okay.
They were also questioning the younger sister as well, which the parents didn't know about either.
Wow.
He had no attorney present, nothing. Just a 14-year-old kid and police officers.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Detective Clater begins the interrogation by asking Michael if he knew anyone who may have wanted to harm his sister. Michael said he didn't. Clater asked a few more questions before asking Michael if he would be willing to take a truth verification exam. At this point, In the interrogation, Detective Clater brought in Detective McDonough, who operates the lie detection machine called the Computer Voice Stress Analyzer.
Yes.
So, are you familiar with what this machine is?
No.
Okay. So this machine analyzes the inaudible vibrations in a person's voice, which decrease when you're under stress or lying.
Okay.
So it's essentially a polygraph, just
Right.
like a different way.
Do you have to take this?
Of course not.
Yeah. But they're giving it to the 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay.
This device had never been used to interrogate a child. It's only rated to be used for, like, adults.
Right.
He had never used it for the Escondido Police Department. He had only used it for the Oceanside Police Department. And I don't know. I mean, I've read a ton of cases. I'm sure you've read a ton of cases. I've literally never heard of this thing ever being used outside of this one case.
No.
So I don't think the science is there.
Probably not.
Michael was asked questions like, did you take Stephanie's life? Do you know who took Stephanie's life? Both of which he answered no to. So at this point in the investigation, Michael states for the second time that he is being blamed for his sister's murder and he didn't do it. So he's outright telling them, like, I feel like you're blaming me, but I didn't do this.
Yeah.
The police continually lie to him about evidence they are finding on scene. They say that they found her blood in his bedroom and his hair in Stephanie's hand.
Oh, God.
They didn't find either of those things.
No.
And I know police can lie during an interrogation.
Yeah.
It's like they're allowed to, but like...
This kid's 14.
He's a kid.
He's a child.
And they're just lying.
Ugh.
So he's feeling like, well, if they're telling me this, like, maybe I did.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And you also have to think, and what the Crowe parents have always said is, we've always told our kids that cops were the good guys.
Right.
That you're supposed to trust the cops.
Yeah.
So this was the first interaction where, like, maybe they weren't doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That he had ever experienced. So he had a lot of faith that if he just told the truth, he would be okay.
Which it should work out that way.
You know, the truth will set you free.
Right.
I think that's the phrase.
Yeah.
The police, like I said, the police continually lie. So there's footage of his interrogation that you can watch, and it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad to watch him just, like, fight with himself, and he's like, he breaks down. I mean, he literally, it's 2 days he's been questioned almost constantly.
Yeah.
Separated from his parents. His sister's dead.
Yeah.
It's like a lot.
That is a lot.
He can be seen like in extreme distress. He's sobbing, nearly inconsolable. The detectives continue. They're like bulldogs, and they just continue
That's
to
ridiculous.
put pressure and pressure and pressure on him. So after over 3 hours of this investigation, they send Michael back to the group home. The next day, on January 24th, they bring him back in again for questioning. This one lasts 6 hours.
Wow.
And in this 6 hours, Michael admits to murdering Stephanie.
Oh, no.
So in this investigation series, the detectives begin to lie even more. And they're still lying to him about the evidence they have and, like, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
They state that they think that there's two different Michaels, that there's a bad Michael and a good Michael.
Okay.
They're convincing.
They're grasping here.
Yes, they're convincing this 14-year-old that he has two different sides to him, and the bad Michael did it and the good Michael didn't.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me. It's like... It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. So they state that bad Michael must be the one who killed Stephanie. The detective asked Michael to write a letter to Stephanie.
Oh.
I'm going to read you some of that letter.
Okay. Oh.
Michael says, you're going to make me cry. I will always hold you dear to my heart. If I did do this, then I am insane. I hope both you and God will forgive me for this. We all miss you, and I feel that I am being ripped from everything I know. I never meant to hurt you, and the only way I know I did is because they told me I did. I hope you understand that I don't know what I was thinking when I did this. I hope I never remember because I don't think I could ever forgive myself if I knew what I did.
Oh, yeah, that rips my heart out.
It's so sad.
That is sad.
It's like,
Oh,
seriously, I'm gonna cry.
yeah.
So, in this investigation, he's saying things like, I'll lie, I'll have to make it up. But then he tells them, like, I'm telling you right now, but it's a complete lie. Like, he's telling the detectives, I'll tell you what you want to hear, but I'm lying.
Right.
So Detective Clater, the main investigator, he gets impatient, and he, just keeps pushing and pushing him. So finally, Michael admits to being jealous of Stephanie. The police send Michael to juvenile hall. At this point, they arrest him.
Right.
Because he's admitted to killing her.
Okay.
And then the police inform Steve and Cheryl that Shannon can return, so the younger sister can return to their care, and that they've caught Stephanie's murderer.
Wow.
And so the parents are like, great, who is it?
Yeah.
And the police are like, oh, it's your son, Michael.
Oh, jeez.
And the parents are like, wait,
No.
what? Like,
Yeah.
our son?
No.
It's just,
Yeah.
what? Steve and Cheryl didn't believe that Michael killed Stephanie. They never did.
Yeah.
Even despite the confession, some stuff I read said that they thought maybe, like in the beginning,
Yeah.
they weren't sure why he would have, because him and Stephanie were very close.
Yeah.
And even the night before her murder, they were like on the floor watching a movie together in the living room.
Yeah. So he didn't do it.
Then when they visit him in juvie the first time, they're like, we know for sure he didn't do this.
Yeah.
Like, we have 100% certainty that our son didn't kill our daughter.
Yeah.
At this point in the investigation, they have nothing except for this confession. They have no real evidence. The house has no evidence.
Wow.
The only place where there's
So the murder weapon was never found?
no. The only place where there's evidence is within Stephanie's room.
Okay.
But there's nothing like her blood, her hair, there's no footprints outside, there's nothing else.
Wow. Okay.
At all. So now they have to search for the other things to make it, like the other evidence. So they're going to start looking for a murder weapon. And that search leads to the arrest of Michael's best friend, Joshua Treadway, and one of his ex-friends that he had had a falling out with at this point, Aaron Hauser.
Oh.
Both Joshua and Aaron were 15 years old, and they went to the same high school as Michael. Aaron was a knife enthusiast,
Okay.
which is a strange hobby for a 15-year-old, I think.
Yeah.
And he owned quite a few different knives. After Stephanie's murder and the news of the arrest of Michael, Aaron noticed that a knife was missing from his collection.
Okay.
And then,
Interesting.
yeah, and his mother called police to report the missing knife.
Okay.
So it's like seeming like maybe he did do it, maybe they all were in on it.
Yeah.
The police used Aaron's missing knife as an excuse to execute a search warrant of Joshua Treadway's house.
Okay.
At that time, during that search, they found a 6-inch Best Defense knife under his bed. They also found like a knife, like a wood carving tool next to it, or like a bigger knife.
Yeah.
And so they arrested Joshua Treadway because they're saying that this was the murder weapon.
Okay.
So they arrested him first for petty theft because he had stolen Aaron's knife.
Okay. Yeah.
And they bring him down to the police station, and they begin to interrogate him sort of the same way that they interrogated Michael. So like these marathon long investigations. For Joshua, it lasted 10 hours.
Wow.
Overnight, and he had been awake for 26 hours at the end of it.
And he's 15.
He's 15.
Yeah.
He had actually just turned 15 the day before.
Oh, wow.
So he's very newly 15.
Very new. Yeah.
Joshua also agreed to the voice analyzer.
Yeah.
And he eventually confesses that Hauser, Aaron, gave him the knife and told him to get rid of it. His interrogation is very sad because he's saying things to the detectives and then asking if he's passing the voice analyzer.
No.
Because, and like, am I telling you guys what you want to hear? Like, am I doing a good job?
Right.
And he just repeatedly is like, when this is over, like, if I finish this, can I go to bed? That's all this kid wants to do. And he thinks if he just tells them what he can, he'll go to bed. His parent is present at the police station, but doesn't think that they needed to get a lawyer.
Okay. So was he in the room with him? Or just present at the police station?
He was at the police station, so he wasn't in the room at this time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't do that, parents. Go in there with your children.
Literally anyone, just lawyer up.
And lawyer
Don't
up.
talk.
Yeah.
Just don't talk.
And don't allow their police to interview your children without you.
But it's like you don't want to feel guilty, right? And I feel like if you start getting a lawyer and like all of that, it makes you seem guilty. Mm-hmm. But like, no, just be smart.
Yeah, it's just being
lawyer
smart.
up, be smart.
Yep.
And don't let them convince you that you have two different sides of yourself and that you've killed your sister.
Right. Don't do that.
That's the moral of this story. Aaron is arrested at his high school the following day. So the following day of Joshua's interrogation. He gives a confession, but it's more like not a confession. It's more like hypotheticals where he's like, if I did it, I would do blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But not saying I did it and I did X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like a OJ. If I did it.
Right.
Sort of situation.
If the glove fits.
All three of the boys were arrested and they begin awaiting for their trial in juvie.
Okay.
They spent 10 months in juvie.
Wow.
10.
Wow.
Waiting for a trial. Michael's not able to go to Stephanie's funeral because he's in juvie. Even though his parents are like, we don't believe this. Like, can you please just let him out for a day?
Yeah.
Like, let him come to his sister's funeral. Not allowed.
Wow.
The rest of the story gets, like, pretty nuts.
Yeah.
One of the defense attorneys for Joshua Treadway, his attorney, starts to question, like, as preparing for the trial, notices that evidence wasn't tested or, like, wasn't tested correctly.
Okay.
And some of that evidence comes from another person who was in the area the night of Stephanie's murder, but, like, not really on police's radar or a suspect in this case at all. And his name was Richard Tewitt. So Richard was a transient, homeless man who was known in the Escondido area near Stephanie's home to, like, be on drugs and probably not the most mentally stable.
Yeah.
He was in the, like, immediate area of her neighborhood the night of her murder, knocking on neighbors' doors.
Okay.
And asking for a woman named Tracy.
Okay.
A bunch of her neighbors had called the police. Like, there's this guy who just keeps coming over to my house. And, like, it's a pretty rural area. Not super, but, like, also a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word wealthy, but, like, very middle class.
Yeah.
So out of place.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a downtown area.
Right.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he goes around, he's knocking on all these people's doors, and there's, like, police calls of the neighbors calling this in. So the last call that they got was at about 10 p.m., and it was from Stephanie, the Crowe's next door neighbor.
Okay.
And he said, there's this man at my house, and I saw him earlier, and he was watching outside of my neighbor's house, which would have been the Crowe's house.
Yeah.
And, like, he's just not leaving. He's asking for this woman. I don't know who this woman is. And apparently this woman was someone that he had done drugs with. He was, like, looking for her.
Okay.
There was one thing I read where a police officer went out after that last call to check. And he drove past the Crowe home and the neighbor's home and didn't see him. Richard didn't see Tewitt outside. But he did observe, like, someone closing the side garage door that had been left open
Okay.
to the Crow's home,
Right.
but couldn't see who it was.
Okay.
And so the police officer suspected that it was one of the family members who lived in that house, obviously. I don't know if it was or if it wasn't, but some of the evidence that Treadway's defense attorney test makes it seem like maybe it wasn't one of the family members.
Yeah.
And it was someone else.
Yeah.
So the evidence that she gets retested is the shirts, because the police found to it the day after and they questioned him, took photos of him, and did took his clothes for evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all they did. They didn't do anything additional. They didn't do voice analyzer stress test on him. They didn't do marathon questionings on him. Just that. The shirts he was wearing were super dirty because he was a transient.
Yeah.
So they hadn't been washed in a long time. But there was 3 stains, blood stains, that they got tested, which isn't a lot of blood.
Right.
For the kind of murder. That was
8, 7. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Both of his shirts, he was wearing a red sweater on the outside and a white shirt on the inside. Mm-hmm. There was 3 blood spots total, and both of them tested positive for Stephanie's blood. Okay. Which is I don't know, that seems like evidence.
That seems like the...
But there's still no...
grand finale there.
There's still no murder weapon. There's still nothing else to go with that.
That's pretty damning, though, that he's wearing...
I would think so. He's in the area and he's wearing clothes with her blood on it.
It's been documented that people have called the police.
Yeah, I would think that there's a lot.
That's a lot,
There's a lot there. So, with that evidence... they're able to, the defense attorney and the prosecutor and the DA and everyone, they drop the case against Michael, Joshua, and Aaron.
Good.
And they're acquitted without prejudice, which I guess means that they can be tried for it again. Oh. Which kind of seems a little fucked up to me, but, I don't understand the justice system fully. No. And then they arrest Richard for her murder. Okay. So he does get arrested for it. Okay. And then his trial takes about 6 years to happen, which seems like a really long time. Yeah. So he gets arrested in, I want to say 99 or 2000. And then his trial happens in, I can't remember the exact date right now. His defense attorneys basically say the Escondido police mishandled evidence at the time of the crime scene. Right. So the blood that's on her, because it's so minimal and it's 3 drops. Yeah. The blood that's on her isn't from him committing a crime. It's from a police tripod that was taking pictures that then cross-contaminated with his clothing. Huh. That's his entire case. Okay. He is found guilty, not of murder, but a manslaughter charge. Right. 2nd-degree manslaughter or something like that. Okay. So not premeditated. Right. 1st-degree murder. Right. I always think it's so weird that there's degrees. I know. To crimes. Murder is murder. It totally is. So he's found guilty, and at his sentencing hearing... escapes. Okay. Yeah. He gets out of the courthouse and he goes downtown. He's just in downtown. Yeah, he's just running in downtown San Diego, and he's found about 2 hours later. Wow. Which is I don't know. Yeah. There's nowhere. I don't know. How does he get out? I don't know. How do you just let him go? I don't know. I would think it'd be hard. There's cops in the courtroom. I know. So it's a courthouse. I've been to there. Yeah. I've been to that courthouse before. There's cops in there. There's tons. Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah. So he escapes. They find him about 2 hours later, at a bus stop, I think, in downtown San Diego. Yeah. And he ends up getting sentenced to 13 years in state prison for manslaughter.
Okay.
And then he gets another, I think, like 4 years for his run.
Okay.
So he gets like a third almost
Yeah.
for running that he does for manslaughter.
Right.
Like killing someone. To me, that seems
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Not enough time.
Right.
And then he gets acquitted.
Oh.
So he goes to prison for a while. He submits for a what's the word? Appeal.
Appeal?
Yes. Yeah. He submits for an appeal, and the Supreme Court of California, like the appeals court, they basically say like there's not enough evidence to say that he really did it, and that the evidence collected by the Escondido police was mismanaged.
Yeah.
And like a few other like random things that he gets off on, like he wasn't fully Mirandaized, or like didn't have, I don't know, like one of his constitutional rights was like violated. So he gets out in, I want to say it's like 2004 or 2006 or something. He gets out and he can never be tried again for her murder.
Wow.
Yep. And so there's no clear answers, no real justice, no nothing.
I'm not sure how I feel about this case.
It's like,
I mean, he had blood on his shirt, but what would be his motive to kill a little girl?
I don't know. There's no motive, right? The only thing I can think of is like he ended up in their home.
Right.
Like wandered in and found her.
Woke her up. She woke up, maybe.
She was actually still wearing her clothes from the night before, so it appeared like she hadn't changed into her pajamas yet.
Okay.
So just like encountered her and maybe like thought it was that Tracy girl. Like, I don't know.
It's just hard to... That and the fact that the blinds weren't disturbed. I don't know. That makes me think that maybe it was someone inside the house. Because that's kind of hard to... How do you get inside the house?
Well, there's the garage door.
Oh, the garage
that was
door.
unlocked.
That's
that the police officer saw.
That's right.
Closing like right at the time that she was murdered.
Yeah.
But also there's like no noise. No one hears anything. So it's
that's
very
weird.
quiet.
Yeah.
She was covered with like a blanket and stabbed through a blanket.
Okay.
Like her comforter.
Yeah.
And she was found in the hallway because she tried to like, it seemed like she was like crawling.
Oh.
So the hair that the police originally had said was Michael's, remember they lied to him and said they found her hair in your hand?
Yeah.
It was like from the carpet, like dog hair and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and like just the bits that get in carpet.
Yeah.
It's another one of them where it's like there's just no clear answer, there's no justice, there's no anything. It's not wrapped up with like a little bow and like this person's in jail for it, you know.
That's frustrating.
It is so frustrating, and it's really sad for the, you know, like for the families.
Yeah.
To have to live with the questions forever. Although I think that the Crowe family is really firm that Michael didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like they don't believe he did it.
Right.
I don't believe he did it.
Yeah.
If
probably
I
not.
Look at everything and the tactics they use to interrogate him are...
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And his friends. It's just so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It's... Like, I just wish that the parents would have known.
Yeah, they should
have.
Right?
Like, they should have been made aware, even though their kids were at the Polinsky Center. Like, they still should have been made aware
They
that...
should have been made aware.
The kids were being interrogated.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's the case. That's kind of where it ends as like an update. The guy is now 51 and he was recently in the court system again for a drug charge. He was caught with like meth on him.
Oh, good.
So it doesn't seem like he's stopped doing that.
Yep.
And his family believes him. That he didn't do it. They don't think that Richard did it.
Yeah.
Not her family, his own family. It's like he didn't do this. And
right.
I truly don't know like what to what to think.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
And I just want to mention something else, that the boys sued the cities of Escondido and Oceanside after they got out of juvie, and they settled in 2011 for $7.25 million.
Well, good for them.
I mean, at least they got something. And it permanently also dismissed the criminal charges against them. So it like wouldn't show up on their records or anything anymore, which at least there's justice in that sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I don't know. I really don't know what to think. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah. It's a lot. So most of my research came from the San Diego Union Tribune. The local newspaper had like a really good investigative journalism, a whole like series on this. So I read through most of that. It like all through the archives because it's from so long ago.
Yeah.
And then YouTube videos I watched of the interrogation. So that's where I got most of my information.
All right. Cool. Good job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. And you can find us on
Twitter
and Instagram.
Why did we start with Twitter?
I don't know.
I just like blurted it out.
Twitter. I don't even use Twitter.
But we have
one.
I've never been on it. I don't know if anything happens on it, but
it doesn't. At the Murder Mamas. And you can find us on our Facebook page at the M Mamas.
Because you can't put murder on Facebook.
Murder on Facebook.
It's against the community guidelines.
Yes.
Also, Gmail. You can submit any cases to us. Send us an email.
Yeah.
Talk to us, whatever.
TheMurderMamas@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.